I've got a new group of paintings which at the beginning of the year I'd finished 4 or 5 large paintings which had a very decorative kind of quality to them, and I've been very interested, and have been for a long time, in Persian and Indian miniature painting. But many years ago I was bowled over by an exhibition at the British Museum called The Gardens and the Cosmos, which was an exhibition of paintings from sort of Victorian India, and some of the panels were 4 or 5 foot, but managed to maintain the kind of decorative intensity and poetry of that kind of art. And I sort of had in mind that I wanted to create a series of mystical paintings which would be strongly decorative, would be influenced by Indian and Persian painting, and also very early Italian painting, particularly the Sienese school of painting, which is a very, very mystical school of painting. I suppose in part inspired by those early Italian Renaissance paintings. They were in turn inspired by Egyptian painting and Egyptian philosophy. All of those influences sort of came together with that sort of expressive modernism, which is part of the inherited language of my generation of painters. And this series of highly decorative sort of miniature, I suppose they're miniatures in comparison with the larger paintings I was working on. Yeah, what's interested me about the Sienese school of painting particularly is because a lot of the painting is religious painting, commissioned painting, and painted by figures who were in themselves either monks or part of those religious devotional schools. Everything in those Sienese paintings is sort of painted with an intensity, so you get trees which kind of shimmer in a way. So I wanted to imbue some of that into these paintings. So, for example, in the painting of the trees, my goal was to make every single leaf different from the leaf that I'd painted prior to it, so that I could give the tree forms this similar kind of life. And so there are all sorts of influence in these, and again a sense of using all these devices to create something which is sort of mysterious. Gradually, one series led to another, and so I started a third series of paintings which had downscaled yet again. So I'd gone from making sort of 6 foot by 5 foot paintings down to the smaller first series, and then proceeded to create this series of miniature paintings with even more sort of decorative intensity, and breaking down some of the elements of the first series of paintings, particularly the figures, which I had a very kind of a sort of sense of being very playful with the figures in the way that they were stretched and created, and then I started to break the figures down and place heads and feet in different locations to give a sense of sort of humour, and also casting some sort of references back to the tradition of the anthropomorph, who were a mythical race of people, and they're often seen in 17th century maps as this mythical people. This series sort of adapted the idea of the miniature even more completely than the first series, and as a result, you intensified the colour and the decorative sort of range of the prints, whilst at the same time having a great deal of playful fun with the figure. And there are odd birds flying upside down, odd black cats chasing the figure. There's leaping cats, there's flying birds, there's hands coming out of buildings. So that they become as often happens at the end of a series, one becomes even more sort of playful and decides to push the ideas further and further. So this last group of mystical paintings come from that very playful period.